An elderly person named Han Piju fills in as a part-time waiter at a cafe. His youthful associates love him due to his kind character and great habits. During the Christmas season he typically dresses up as Saint Nick and engages the clients. At the eatery his nearest colleague is a young fellow in his 20s named Ingu. They frequently pay special attention to each other and additionally have a perplexing style of handshake. One day Han gets a telephone call from his little girl and goes numb. Ingu, seeing the adjustment of his temperament, asks, assuming something is off base. Han does not answer his inquiry and basically leaves. Later we see him racing to the emergency clinic to see his now dead spouse. He holds her hand and tells her that he's glad for her and that he will see her before long in life following death. Following this the scene movements to Han's spouse's memorial service where many individuals express their sympathies to him. Then Han has a brief discussion with his PCP who stresses over his well-being. He additionally hands Han a container of medication to help him ease his aggravation. After this the specialist inquires as to whether he truly plans to convey out his arrangement. The last option answers that he is as of now satisfied all his obligations as a spouse and father. Presently there's nothing that can make him stand by any longer. Soon thereafter Han goes into the extra space where he uncovers an enormous notice board canvassed in news sections and other material about his arrangement. Then he records himself referencing that he has a cerebrum growth and Alzheimer's infection. He additionally uncovers his plan, which is to kill 5 individuals who obliterated his family during Japan's reign in Korea. He keeps on depicting the torments his family got through. First his dad was dishonestly denounced, captured and beaten to passing. Furthermore his mom couldn't endure her better half's affliction and kicked the bucket in despair. His more seasoned sibling was tricked by a companion and kicked the bucket while working in a awful mine. At last his more seasoned sister was taken as a mistress for Japanese officers. She was unable to bear the shame and thus dedicated the unimaginable in the wake of returning back home. Since Han disregards things a ton, he etches the names of the guilty parties on his fingers. Later he uncovers an old weapon from the beginning. Following day Han meets Ingu at an eatery and requests that he be his own driver for a couple of days. At first Ing is shocked by the startling solicitation and asks about it. Han answers by making sense of that due for his age and absence of a driver's permit. He wants somebody to drive him around. Han likewise makes reference to that Ing won't be terminated from his present place of employment and that he would likewise be paid. Following this the two head to the vehicle. Ing is shocked to discover that it's a Porsche. He asks about it and Han specifies that it's an unregistered vehicle. He's leasing for 7 days. Sooner or later they arrive at their most memorable objective, a emergency clinic. Han leaves, teaching Ingu not to hang tight for him or call him until he himself does. Han then takes out his medical clinic map and looks at it. After that he enters the medical clinic and utilizations his age as a reason to get a seat from a couple. We later discovered that he needed that explicit seat since it was out of the CCTV's reach. Later around early afternoon a housekeeper stirs Han and illuminates him that he can't rest at the medical clinic. Recalls his rationale in being there as he gazes at the names engraved on his fingers and sees the surly spouse of the chief. At the point when Han is going to pass on to do his arrangement, Inyu shows up startlingly, alarming him. Han irately inquires as to why he didn't sit tight for him. However, Ingu attests that he was concerned as it has been more than 5 hours. Han keeps on asking Inyu to get back, saying he has Significant work therefore Ingu begins. Getting bothered he tells Han not to be a prick prior to leaving thereafter. Han utilizing a long texture piece opens a entryway to get to the chief. When he makes it inside he awakens his first focus by tossing a glass of water on his face. The chief regards himself as tied down to the bed and he angrily inquires Han who he is. Accordingly Han tells him that he killed his blameless dad quite some time ago, thus he needs to pass on at this point. Terrified the chief argues for benevolence, yet Han covers his face with a cushion and shoots him 2 times, killing right away. Later sometime the police show up at the homicide scene where the housekeeper illuminates Boss Kong about the dubious man she saw leaving the earlier night somewhere else. As Angie is at a game arcade he gets a message from his companion illuminating him of the clinic chief's passing. A man who left the clinic hall late at night is being known as the great suspect. Ingu is shocked when he views that as the man on the news is him. All of a sudden he gets a text from Han demonstrating the next area. The following objective is an creator who's at a public interview. Later he wraps up and plans to head home. Han asks Ingu to tail his vehicle during this timing raises the occasion from the earlier day and furthermore the way that he's being known as a suspect anyway. Han basically overlooks it and desires Ingu to center around the main job soon after. As the creator gets back, Han approaches him and starts prattling about the past. The creator lashes out and asks who he is, and Han uncovers that he's the sibling of a similar individual who was bamboozled by the creator and offered to work in a mine. Saying this he kills the man by shooting him 2 times. Since Han's silencer was obliterated, the shot was clearly enough for Ingu to hear, so after hearing it he surges there just to think of himself as in the middle of a surprising scene including Han and the dead creator. Ingu is as well stunned to move, so he shakes with alarm until Han illuminates him that the creator has as of now passed on and that they should leave. Later the police show up at the scene also begin exploring. One of them tracks down a photo of the creator with the as of late departed chief and 2 others. Back to Han, he stirs from a fantasy about his dead sister and winds up at Ingu's home. He turns on the television and tracks down that the news channels are looking for the suspect. Ingu this unnerves the last option, yet Han quiets him down, saying the police can't remember him from that point. He moreover vows to do everything in his capacity to forestall Inguinal from being accused. As the two keep talking about, out of nowhere 2 hooligans show up. Turns out Ingu had acquired cash from them to cover his dad's clinical costs, so they've come to inquire for it. When Ingu specifies that he doesn't have it, the hooligans begin causing an uproar. Luckily Han mediates. What's more, vows to pay the obligation in 7 days. This consoles the hooligans and they walk away. Later Han hands Ingu a sack full of money, all that anyone could need to take care of all his obligations. This brightens Ingu up a little and he utilizes this open door to ask Han for what reason he's killing individuals. The old man makes sense of everything right from scratch and furthermore uncovers that he has 3 additional individuals to kill. Hearing this, Ingu's demeanor rapidly changes. At the police headquarters, officials are examining who will be in charge of the Japanese Armed Force festivity. Boss Kong rapidly volunteers when he discovers that the Japanese official in the photograph he saw prior at the creator's home will be there. The scene then, at that point, movements to the occasion where Han moves beyond security with a phony ID soon after he sees the Japanese official and starts recollecting at the point when his sister was constrained into being a courtesan. Later Han heads to the latrine where he figures out how to make an dangerous utilizing the things he brought. He then takes out his weapon from where he had stowed away it after he leaves. Boss Kong, who is dubious of him, the latrine however tracks down nothing in the following scene. The Japanese official methodologies the stage for his discourse. Boss Kong, who is as yet dubious of Han, cautions the different police to watch out for him. They quickly spread out and examine the region. One of them figures out that Han had as a matter of fact utilized the ID of the dead creator. Frightened they start searching for him, yet all of a sudden Han explodes the unstable, occupying the room with smoke. After a while he makes another blast, bringing about absolute turmoil. The police are attempting to accompany the Japanese official to a protected spot, yet unexpectedly Han shows up. Furthermore, seizes him. He then, at that point, locks the entryway and hauls the Japanese official to the lift where he severely kills him. Kong is now on the ground floor standing by to capture the culprit, yet when the lift entryways open he just tracks down the dead body of the Japanese official. In the meantime, Han, who is seriously harmed, brings Ing and makes due to escape the spot. Effectively later, Han stirs in his companion's medical clinic and asks Ingu for one final solicitation to film him in the video. Han talks about his next target, Kim, and how he obliterated various Korean families to acquire fortune. What's more, honor. He additionally keeps on uncovering Kim's bad behaviors and how he was all never rebuffed for them, rather he was viewed as a tactical legend. Later the two are captured by Kim's men. They are going to be executed, however all at once Ingu states that he has a duplicate of the film elsewhere, so he takes them to the place where the famous hooligans who he acquired cash from live. As the two parties see each other they get into an extreme battle. Luckily Han figures out how to save Ingu. He additionally apologizes for hauling him into this present circumstance and much obliged him for all that he is finished. Before the police show up at the battle scene, Han escapes in his Porsche anyway. Ing isn't so particularly fortunate as official Kong secures him the scene. Then, at that point, movements to the following day where a few armed workforce are commending the starting of Kim's sculpture. He additionally shows up in his armed force uniform as Kim keeps on talking about how his protected career. Han reviews when Kim talked also, however, on the side of Japan. Following this he takes out his firearm and focuses it at Kim's granddaughter. He then, at that point, compromises the shrewd general to uncover all his previous deeds. Having no different choices, Kim at long last makes some noise. He proceeds to portray how he sold himself to the Japanese government, detained anyone who communicated in Korean, encouraged Korea's childhood to battle for Japan, furthermore misled a few Korean ladies into becoming Japanese mistresses, including Han's sister. Hearing this, everybody counting Kim's granddaughter are taken aback by this data. Han then guides the firearm toward Kim and fires him dead, referencing that they will meet in damnation inevitably. Kong finishing you show up at the scene. They notice Han with his firearm encompassed by cops on all sides. Ingu specifies that he views as the circumstance exceptionally odd, as Han is getting captured before he kills his fifth target anyway. When he re-examines it through, he understands that the battle target is, in all honesty, Han himself. We are then taken to the past where Khan meets his sister dressed as a Japanese trooper. This shocks the last option, and she asks in the event that he understands his wearing the very uniform as the fighters that badgering her. Han answers by saying that he doesn't mind what has been going on with her. This implies that he was likewise one of the purposes behind his family's downfall. Back in the present, as Han is going to commit suicide, Ingu shows up and beseeches him to stop. He likewise lets her know that if he commits the incomprehensible, all that is accomplished for equity will become useless. Hearing this, Han gets close to home and at long last drops the weapon. In the last scene we see Ingu visit Han in jail, who no longer remembers him because of his dementia anyway. He recalls their specific handshake, which causes Ingu to be personal. The film closes as the two embrace very much like they used to in the past.